Right. So last week we finished with the entrepreneurship development. So today we supposed to cover two topics, topic 11 and 12, getting financial for the organization, for the businesses, and the ethics with related to the business. Those two topics, very small topics, we will cover by today. Then two more topics we will cover maybe next week, because we are finishing the semester within this week. So I need some extra time, as we couldn't conduct a couple of lectures due to some fair reason. Anyway, what do you think about the financing or funding? Can you do business without money? Yeah, many say cannot. Anyway, there are some businesses that we can do by investing our intellectual capacity, like doing tuition or something. But majority of the business, maybe 96% of businesses, we need some sort of financial uh, assets, right? Financial assets we should have. So we should just go for own funding to fulfill the finance need, or we go for banks, or we ask from our parents, friends, siblings. There are many ways to find the funds to assure the smooth financing with the business. Right, so here there was a power cut. So as I'm using the Wi-Fi access point, things were collapsed. Now I'm back. I think power might be supplied through the generator. So once power come in, the similar thing can be happen. So bear with me. I will rejoin, right? So in layman, or with the basic understand, we need money to do a business, right? So we are going to discuss how we are going to do that part very carefully, because it depicts, or it decides the way that business run, right? Whether you will be succeed or whether you will be fail. However, there is no right or wrong way to invest on your business or find the funds for the business. So it depends on the situation. So importance of getting financing or funding, the nature of the funding and financing process. So nature it has described. Few people deal with the process of raising investment capital until they need to raise the capital for their own firm. So many join with the business. First they work for someone, right? Our colleague work for someone, work for reputed organization, got that exposure, which is important to run similar kind of business. At the same time, they can save some money from the salaries with the mindset to start a business within a specific period of time. For example, you may join with the reputed software development firm or network implementation firm, but you have a plan within 2 years, within 3 years, I just get the experience, I save some money and start my own business. That might be your plan, one of your plan. It can be, right? It is possible. So that approach is discussed here, because just after graduate, we can start the business if we have enough knowledge in that particular domain, but we are not rich enough to do so. Our parents might not be rich enough to do so or helping us. So in that case, depending on situation, you make the decision, right? So anyway, capital means prarthane. So you need the capital. Initial some funding is essential to launch a business, right? So you have to raise that. You should have some understand. what is the business you are going to launch. For that, how much money you want. So that is or initial funding you want, which is the capital, right? As a result, many entrepreneurs go about the task of raising the capital half-heartedly. It is difficult to pronounce. That means it's find the different ways which are not even official. Like පොලියට ගන්නවා වගේ. The definition I just put it here. In the manner lacking any obvious principle for the organization. Just give me a second. So in a manner lacking any obvious principle of the organization. That means the funding happen without following that principle guideline. That means if you are going for funding source, if you are asking money from as lending money from some other organization or person, whatever the interest you are going to pay, right? Interest you are going to pay should be earned through the business, right? If you are crazy enough to just find the capital, මට කොහොම හරි මේ capital එක හොයාගන්න ඕනි කියලා, if you just go for the පොලි මුදලාලි and get the money, then that higher interest rate you will not be able to recover from the business, right? So be careful when you are try to find the capital for launching a business. You should be very much mindful because you don't have much idea about what will be happen, right? No one can predict about the business. It can be positively progress or it can be negatively influenced. Anything can be happen. So funding should be carefully made through the business process, right? I never recommend to start a business having funds from the different sources with higher interest rate, right? වැඩි පොලියට මුදල් අරගෙන business කරන්න set වෙන්න එපා. ඒක not sustainable approach. Always think about the interest rate that you are going to pay. So based on that, do the or make the decision whether you can recover that interest rate through the business or not. If not, don't go for that. Don't be hurry, right? Don't be hurry to start the business. Find the better sources. Whatever little money you are gaining from the business, it's okay. Or that means if you have very little money to start the business, that might not be enough to launch the business larger scale, but still it is enough. You are doing something, you are doing some business, then you can have good relationship with the bank and you can have the much more funds later on once you show that you are competent to do the business. If you do the funding in the some other sources with higher interest rate, which are not recoverable from the business, then you will be bankrupt definitely, right? So why most new ventures need funding? There are 3 reasons most new ventures need to raise money during their early life, right? That's what we briefly discussed, but this way it is organized. There are 3 ways. Capital flow challenge. That means there are some capital for starting the business, maybe renting the place or purchasing a place or buying a vehicle or hiring a vehicle, recruiting the staff full-time basis or part-time basis, whatever the initial investments are there, right, which you cannot avoid. So capital flow challenges, capital investments, lengthy product development life cycle. So for that also, that is very much crucial. That means if it is not like making cake business, today you can make a cake and sell it tomorrow or even today, right? Then you have a strong cash flow. But if there is a production chain which take long time to process and go to the market, then you should be very careful to bear during that situation. මොකද ඔයාලා දැන් වියදම් කරන එක, the money that you are going to spend today, it will be cash back after maybe 1 month time, because everything, let's say that manufacturing what bags, manufacturing bags, you start manufacturing bag, maybe 100 of bags together go to the market, it takes maybe 1 month, for example, right? Even software or software development situation, you take months of time for development. So even actually in the software industry, you divided, or there are some advance payment and dividing the project into multiple pieces and claim for the project. There are multiple ways to overcome, but it is not the same at every situation, right? If you are doing the manufacturing business, making, let's say, bags, it takes time for you to make them and bring them as a bulk to the market. So you should have some sort of a cash or enough cash to run the business. So dig into detail about these 3 aspects, like here. So cash flow challenges to introduce like this: inventory must be purchased. What are the inventories? Examples: even stationaries, right? Furnitures, right? There are many things. Inventories mean the stuff for the business. Employees must be trained and paid. You have to recruit the staff. At the same time, you may need to give some, at least a little training to adapt the requirement in your business, right? Adapt the employees to your business, I would say. And advertising must be paid for before cash is generated from the sale. So initial advertisement campaign is also there. So for that also you need some money. Right? Do some advertising to bring the brand name for the customers' mind. Customers ගේ හිතට යන්න product එක market එකට යන්න කලින් අපිට advertising කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වෙලාවට අපිට සල්ලි තියෙනවා, අපිට cash back වෙලා නැහැ, product එක තාම sell කරලා නැහැ, product එක යන්න ලෑස්ති වෙනවා විතරයි. So whatever the initial process, you need to have some money to start up the business. After that, cash will be flow eventually. So initiating with something is a little bit challenging with the due risk, right? With the due risk, there is a risk always, right? So capital investments, the cost for buying real estate, right? These are the investment, capital investment. You are buying something. Building facilities and purchasing equipment typically exceed the firm's ability to provide the funds for these needs on its own. So there are situations where you can't buy the land. There are situations where we cannot buy the land. You cannot purchase the building. You cannot purchase the equipment. So what are the alternatives? You may hire them. Right? So somehow you have to make sure that cash flow is running smoothly. So someone has put the chat message for the attendance, but don't do so until I ask you to post the attendance, right? Okay, that is the idea. That means first thing is the cash flow challenge. How cash flow will be running. That means those cash flow කියන්නේ ඒකෙන් physically ඔයාලට touch කරලා ගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ manufacturing දෙයක් නම් material ටිකක් ගෙනල්ලා බඩුව හදලා එළියට දාලා විකුණනවා. එතකොට ඒ flow එකක් නේ, flow එකට සල්ලි තියෙන්න ඕනේ. capital investment කියන්නේ දැන් බඩුවක් හදන බෑග් එකක් හදනවා කිව්වොත් එහෙම ඒ බෑග් එක හදන්න machineries ඕනේ. ඒ machinery තමයි capital. ඒක හදන්න පොඩි space එකක් ඕනේ. house එකක් නැත්නම් building එකක්. පොඩි land එකක් ඕනේ. ඒවා capital. ඒවා නැති වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ, බඩුව විකුණුවා කියලා ඒවා නැති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අන්න ඒ ටික තමයි capital. ප්‍රාග්ධන වියදම්. ප්‍රාග්ධන ආයෝජන. right? Capital investment. So always we have to consider about the capital investment, because sometimes we bought a land for a loan. So we should maintain that capital investments in proper record to tally with the bank loans, right? I also always do that. That means you also will do around the 40. I'm around 40 now. I have huge bank loans, and somehow I managed to pay them. And so I always think the bank balance of the bank loans and the properties that I have, or money that I have in my and property plus money. So that property plus money, property represent the capital investment when we compare with the business. තමන්ගේ property business එකේ තියෙන property එකයි bank loan එකයි බැච්චලා යනවා. In case business is bankrupted, we should be able to sell all the properties and settle the bank loan. In my case also, I thinking that if I collapse, if I died due to some reason, family should not be interrupted due to my decisions in my good time. පුළුවන් වෙලාවට loan ගන්නවා කියන එක නෙමෙයි වැඩේ. We should have some sort of understand how it is moving. So businesses also, mainly businesses are doing so. Individuals are not too much worrying, but in my case, I'm a little bit worrying on that aspect as well. So I always consider whatever the property I have, so and bank commitments I have. So in that perspective, capital investment should be recorded properly. Right, then last thing or third thing, lengthy product development life cycle. Some products are under development for years. Car manufacturing, right? Car manufacturing, even actually car, now it is very quickly happen within 2-3 hours, but once it comes to shipment to the some other country, right, car may moving over the sea or with the sea maybe months time, even though manufacturing within very short time, right? There might be some other delay to bring the money back, right? Come up with some other examples that you are aware with, where lots of dragging happen, right? Drag, paraquin happen with the businesses. So in that case, you should be strength with finance to bear for such period of time. The upfront cost often exceed the firm's ability to fund this activity on its own. So upfront cost mean whatever the cost that we have to spend at the very beginning, upfront cost often exceeds the firm's ability to fund these activities on its own. So due to that upfront cost, right, firms might not be able to handle the cash flow. That is the idea. So always actually banks help the businesses to overcome such situation. They provide the short-term loans based on their purchasing order or selling orders. They just give some other percentage. ඒ කියන්නේ bank order එකක් දාලා ලක්ෂයක bank order එකක් දාලා මොකක් හරි document එක ගිහලා bank එකට දුන්නාට පස්සේ they are giving maybe 50,000 by keeping that whatever the official document with the bank, right? There are different ways to address that, but until you start the business in the somewhat comfortable way or competent way, assure bank or convince the bank that you are doing a good job, you will not get that opportunity. So many going or following different funding sources for high interest rate to overcome that situation. However, it is not the good choice. it is understandable that there should be some other way to uh, manage this huge upfront cost, which we cannot recover within very short period of time, but carefully make the choices with the available funding sources, right? So alternatives for raising money for a new venture: personal funds, debt capital, equity capital, other sources. So you know about the personal fund, debt capital, equity capital, and other sources. Might be new for you. Let's go in uh, detail. Right. First, it talks about the personal funds and friends and family. So that is actually recommended way. What is the reason for that? What is the reason for recommending this sort of funding? What do you think? Personal funding and friends and family are recommended, right? Friends and family, even personal, or self-funding is recommended. Why? Among others.
Low interest rates.
Yeah, actually not loan either. No interest rate. You said no or low?
Low.
No. Okay, that's right. Uh, Actually, some cases yeah, even low interest rate might be right, because sometimes I also did that. When I borrow money from parents for urgent matter, I withdraw their fixed deposits, no? Then I pay them the fixed deposit interest rate. Otherwise, it is not fair, because they are also surviving from the fixed deposit. Other than that, when I take some money from, obviously not for the businesses, right? I have not yet started the businesses, but ex- my experience I raised through that personal experiences. Always we get the money from our brothers. I have two brothers actually. I take the money from them. I give money for them also at different times. So we share, because we don't need to pay interest each other. That is important. But in case if some cases I have done that. If I have to have urgent money, then that other second, the other one is withdrawing the fixed deposit and giving money to me. I just pay the fixed deposit interest, not to interrupt their financing. So it is fair enough, because it is ethical as well, because they are surviving through that funds. Anyway, personal funding, friends and family funding, very much important because of that no interest rate. No interest rate. Very majority no interest. Right? The vast majority of funders contributes personal fund along with the sweet equity to their ventures. That means uh, equity mean whatever what is the single term for equity? Equity and debts are the term. Vatkamha berakamne. But am I correct? People are putting text messages, so I don't know whether they have question or they are putting the attendance. Yeah, don't put the attendance, right? Amsad, Ahmad, Sachinika, you have put the attendance. Don't do that, right? So because if there is some questions, I have to look into chat box. If you are putting attendance, it interrupt the session. So okay, what I was talking about. Yeah, equity and debt. Equity mean what come. Debts berakam. So sweet equity represent the value of the time and effort that a founder puts into new venture. Yeah, even time and effort also considered as uh, equity. Uh, so anyway, whatever the funding sources that you have, you are have you through personal savings, it is the first choice that you should consider. Otherwise, just work for someone and earn some money for that initial funding. Friends and family. Friends and family are the second source of funds for many new ventures. It is obvious if you don't have, you better go for your friends and family, ask some money. But in that case, you should assure that they will not be interrupted due to any reason, and settle them as agreed. Then only even you can ask money from them again. Right? Always කණ්ඩ බොණ්ඩ කලින් ණය ටික ගෙවලා ඉන්න කියලා තමයි අපේ tradition එක, right? I also practice that. In the businesses also, if they do that same way, business will be succeeded. So bootstrapping, that mean අර අතේ තියෙන විදියට වැඩි පටන් අරගෙන කරගෙන යන්න කියන එක තමයි bootstrapping, right? So third source of seed money for new venture is referred to as bootstrapping. A third source of seed money for a new venture is referred to as bootstrapping. So first we consider the personal, then friends and family. Otherwise, just go with the seed money. Seed mean a very low scale. Very, as you have whatever the money you have, just start with that. No much concern about the big hopes are not there anyway. With little you start the business. Bootstrapping is finding a ways to avoid the needs for external financing, funding through creativity, ingenuity, thriftness, cost cutting, any means necessary. Yeah. So external fundings are not accepted. Funding through the creativity. So you just find your own work, maybe in creative manner. Ingenuity, not exactly sure about that word, but it feel like do some genuine effort, something like that. Thriftness, sure. Cost cutting mean not going to spend much more money on unnecessary stuff, to the only the essential stuff, any means necessary. So not going to spend අර සල්ලි බලාගෙන පටන් ගන්න business, tuition might be bring into that categories, right? Even online classes, you may have your own laptop, so by utilizing that you may start teaching for anyone over the internet. So it is also will be a business because it brings you the reputation. Later on you can do actual tuition by charging from the student, right? So many entrepreneurs bootstrap out of necessities. So I have found the definition for that from some other Wikipedia source and put it here for your reference. Bootstrapping describes a situation in which an entrepreneur starts a company with a little capital, relying on money other than outside the investment. Relying on money other than outside investment. Rely on money that they have other than the outside investment. An individual is said to be bootstrapping when they attempt to found and build a company from personal financing of the opening revenue of the or operating revenue of the new company. That means you start the business, then you are earning some revenues. Based on the revenues, you reinvest it into the your organization, right? That is a very low level without worrying too much about the funding. Start something creative, something interesting for attracting the customers. So that is the idea with that bootstrapping, right? So example of bootstrapping methods: buying used instead of buying used instead of new equipment. So even if you don't have the laptop to deliver the online session, you may go to friend's house and use his laptop, or you hire the laptop and deliver the sessions online, right? If you are doing a small construction work, you hire the concrete machine and do the construction, right? If you are doing software development work, if you don't have a computer, hire the laptop and do the things even you are not spending for the computer. Buy the affordable internet connection and utilize that one only for the software development work. Don't waste much money for the internet connection. So such initiatives. Coordinate purchase with other business. I'm not going to consider the attendance, right, at this stage. At the end only, I ask you to put the attendance or at any given time. So don't try to drop the message and go over, right? So those are not valid. Please don't drop the messages again and again. Now someone else again send. So don't do that, right? If you have any question, you can drop messages into the chat box. Coordinate purchase with the other business. Coordinate purchases with the other business. That means whatever the materials purchasing, maybe 2-3 businesses get together and purchase something and share the material with among them. Because when they purchase as a bulk, they may get the better price. But finally, they divide the material and expenses proportionately, having benefits for the all the parties. Leasing equipment instead of buying. Operating payment in advance for customers. Minimizing personal expenses. Avoiding unnecessary expenses. Sharing office space of employees with other businesses. Even we don't have office space, we go and stay with some other space. Even actually now it is very cost effective option. Even World Trade Center, you can find the office spaces for software developers or those who are doing entrepreneurial business. They are just give the postal address for you. You have to pay monthly fee. They are giving only the postal address for you, maybe 100 or 115 slash A. 115 slash A, whatever the tower, West Tower, World Trade Center, Colombo. Maybe 2 or 3. I don't know. I cannot remember exactly. So that address brings you extra value for the business, but you are just using that premises only when you want to meet the customers, right? And only when you want to have a discussion with the customer. For the reputation, you maintain such a space, but you are working at home. But when you want to stay or use that office space for 1 hour, that entire space is arranged as it is your own office. As it is your own office. Right? දන්නවනේ අර බැනර්ස් තියලා මේව කරලා තමන්ගේම ඔෆිස් එක වගේ arrange කරලා දෙනවා. But for that they charge fair amount, but still it is cost effective because you no need to pay for electricity, uh, water, maintenance. You no need to pay. You just use that postal address for reputation, as then others think that you have the office there. So you will be attracted for different businesses, software development businesses, but actually you are not having the entire space for regular use. Right? Did you get the point? So when you start the business or දුප්පත් විදියට business එක පටන් ගන්නවා කියන්නේ, so this nature, by using the money that you have, those are not actually huge source of money. Sharing office space of employees with other, okay, we discussed about that. Such initiatives are there under the bootstrap method. Any question? Any question, guys? We have talked about 3 things under the personal funds. Okay, let's move forward with the preparing to raise debt financing. Debt mean, what is debt?
Borrowed
What is the
money.
meaning of? Hmm?
Borrowed money.
Yeah, debt. Yeah. බැර. හරයි බැරයිනේ. හරද බැරද? Single debt. Yeah, like you are getting loans from the banks, different sources. You finance the business. So such money we introduce as debt. Step 1, determine precisely how much money is needed. Determine precisely how much money is needed. ඔයාලට business එක කරන් යන්න කොච්චර සල්ලි ඕනේද? How much money? Don't go over budget and ask for much more money. Just precisely calculate the actual requirement. Then your interest commitment is also reduced. Determine the type of financing or funding that is the most appropriate. Determine the type of financing and funding that is most appropriate. So you may list down different sources that you can address. Maybe personal, maybe family, maybe bank, maybe leasing company, maybe polymudalali, whatever the sources you list down with their possible interest rate. So you may pick money from your own funds firstly, but you don't have enough money. But maybe 10% of the requirement you can cover yourself. Friends and family will give you 20%. Bank will give you 50%. Leasing may give you 20%. So entire 100% is covered. No need to go for polymethodology. Somehow you manage. That's how you analyze. Depending on the at every time you cannot find all the fundings from one source. It is obvious to understand funding maybe comes, maybe achieved through different sources. Right? So step 3, develop a strategy for engaging potential investors or bankers. Develop a strategy for engaging potential investors or bankers. I always mention that point. You should have a strategy. Right? I always do that. Every month I do some sort of a transaction. Once I get the salary, I just transfer it through some other bank to show my extra income. So always that sort of a approach is not genuine, but we have nothing to do, right? We are just doing the job. With that job, we can pay the loans, but they expect from us to show the different sources to go for loans. So we should be ready. In that, as an individual, I can manage it myself. But when it comes to the business, even business should think about that aspect. Even though they are not able to handle it officially, right? There is account clerk and different responsibilities are dedicated among the staff. No? With that way, in that manner, finance and managing the finance might not be simple as I described with the individual. Individual කෙනෙක් කරනවා වගේ simple වෙන්නේ නැහැ. But for example, if I tell, if there is a small saving at the office, maybe money in the locker, don't do that. Just put it in the money bank. Maybe today evening you put it in the bank, tomorrow morning you withdraw that. Doesn't matter, no? Right? Only you will be charged for ATM usage 5 rupees. But it shows some transaction. It shows some transaction or it develops transaction history for the term called engaging with the bank. Engaging with the bank. Right? Eventually at the end of the month, they looked into the transaction that you made over the month. Right? Monthly basis. or even weekly basis. So better to transfer some money over and over again to build the bank. If you get the overdraft ODs, you should settle on time as agreed, right? Credit card payments, sometimes you may use, businesses may use even credit cards, but pay it on time, then eventually you will be benefited because everything is recorded in the systems now. So it describes your integrity or your honesty to handle the finance sources, right? So equity funding, venture capital, business angels, uh, initial public offering. So when it comes to share market, there are three ways for equity funding, right? So move forward. Firstly, venture capital. Venture capital is money that is venture capital is a money that is invested by venture capital firm. Venture capital is a money that is invested by venture capital firms. Venture capital කියන්නේ venture capital firm වලින් invest කරන money in startup, small business with expectational growth potential. So people are coming and invest on your business if they are convinced enough this business will grow. Otherwise, they will not come and invest. Jack Ma always say, empower young people. Look into the Jack Ma's video, Alibaba. He is saying at the age of 50, empower uh, young people. At the age of 40, I guess. Likewise, he has divided the life into different decades and described the situation. Here is focus about the venture capital. That means always venture capital mean they invest some money on the businesses, small scale businesses, having better understand that they will grow very much soon. Venture capitalists invest money in startup in stages, meaning that not all money that is invested in disbursed at the same time. So if venture capitalist, right? If venture capitalist, someone who has money, Dhammika Perera might be venture capitalist. I don't know whether he's investing on a small business, but he's a rich person. He can launch such initiative. අර ඇත්තුගල මොකක්ද එකක් තිබුණේ program එක. At powder නේ, at powder. Sirius or some other TV channel, they are the venture capitalists. They just looked into the business, right? They looked into the business. If those businesses are understandable and there is a proper plan for growth and investors are providing or investing some money, having the growth potential, having trust about the growth potential. However, they are not going to disperse the money at same time. If they agree to pay 500,000 ලක්ෂ 5ක් දෙන්න කැමති වුණොත්, at the first step to achieve some level, they release 100,000. Then next 200,000 after some other accomplishment. Balance 200,000 will be delivered maybe after some time, depending on the situation. It can be varied, but complete disbursement should not be happen or usually not happen at the beginning of the business under this nature of the investment. It is investment with financing. Some venture capitalists also specialize in certain stages of funding. So they know what is happening with the business. So they just assure that a particular stage, once they release the fund, their relevant objectives are achieved. This is a agreed, there is a agreed exit point for venture capitalist firm. So those initiatives are following very much strict procedures. So always venture capitalists focus about the exit point. If they invest 500,000 today, and if bank interest is 10% at the end, and 10% for the year, that means I have 500,000. I can keep it in the bank. At the end of the year, I can have 10% interest. 10% mean 50,000. 10% mean 50,000 out of 500,000, 50,000. So with this initiative, with the venture capitalist initiatives, when I going to invest my 5 lakh into a small business, a startup business, I expect, for example, right? For example, I want to exit at the end of the year within 1 year period of time, but I need the return. I need the return of 1 lakh. That means altogether 6 lakh. I invest kara mata 6 ඕන. බැංකුවේ තිබ්බන 50,000 හම්බ වෙන්නේ මේක තියෙන ඉඳ 100,000 හම්බ වෙනවා. So there is a specific need for businesses to look into the such investment opportunity, whereas there is no such benefit when they put the money into the bank. Venture capitalists කියන දේ එකතු වෙන්නේ එහෙම. They are not going to invest money on the bank or keep the money on the bank. They just accept little risk, but that risk is minimized with the better monitoring process, like releasing the money stage wise. At the same time, they have clear agreement when that venture capitalist responsibilities are over. And at that exit point, what is the expectation of the investor? Investor ලක්ෂ 5 තියලා ලක්ෂ 5කුයි 50,000කුයි හම්බ වෙනවා නම් බැංක් එකෙන් මේ සිටුේෂන් එකත් එක්ක ලක්ෂ 5කුයි ලක්ෂයක් නැත්නම් ලක්ෂ 7ක් පහමාරට වැඩි ගාණක් හම්බ වෙන්න ඕන කියන ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එකට එනවා. ඒක ස්ටාර්ට්අප් බිස්නස් එක කරන එකනාගේ රෙස්පොන්සිබිලිටි එක වෙන්චර් කැපිටලිස්ට් ඒ ගාණ හොයලා දෙනවා කියන එක. So whatever the balance, if there is a balance, the owners can share, while venture capitalist is not penalized. Venture capitalist is not influenced negatively, right? Instead, if there is some losses with the business, still venture capitalist should not be penalized. Venture capitalist should get that money. Otherwise, they will go for courts based on the agreement that they have. So it is not good. That's why venture capital firms are not attracted by the investors, because lots of conflicts during the journey. But it is a good source. If we can find the good person, right, with the better knowledge and enough money, those we introduce them as business angels, not just venture capitalists. They are business angels, individuals who invest their personal capital directly in startup. මංගව සල්ලි තියෙනවා මං ගිහිල්ලා business එකේ දානවා. දැන් EPF එකේ සල්ලි business එකට දාලා පුළුවන්ද? venture capitalist කියලා. EPF ETF government share market එකේ දැන් ඔය සල්ලි දාන. So not sure neither. Who knows? We should do this investments, but investment should not be risky, especially such a large scale investment. In the scale of the venture capitalist, involvement of the venture capitalist should be carefully made, right? We cannot set the ground rules because of the uniqueness of that venture capitalist related investment, but we can provide some overall understand what is the responsibility with the different stakeholders to launch successful venture capitalist initiatives or firms. Prototypical business angel is 500 years, 50 years old. Prototypical mean the ideal case, has high income and wealth. So those person have better income and wealth. They have saved some money. Is well educated. So education is important to discuss and finalize the stuff. Otherwise, it is very much difficult to discuss and finalize. So mutually they are not going to understand the situation and adapt the situation accordingly, right? I think you have enough experience in such scenario, not into financing or business field, but similar thing is similar experiences that you have can be adapted in this situation also. So it is very much important to have the business angels. They are effectively contributing for the businesses, right? Moving forward, business angels are valuable because of their willingness to make relatively small investment, right? Always they are not going to invest much money. ලක්ෂ දෙක දාන්න යන්නේ. So they are just throughout actually they are strong experience they are doing so. Not going to invest all the money at one basket. Instead, they just put some money for some businesses and wait for some incomes, then only moving forward. Otherwise, just I would say problematic situation. Okay, these investors generally invest 10,000 to 500,000 in single company, are looking for companies that have the potential to grow between 30% to 40% per year. So you got those points. Business angels are difficult to find. So always that is not the case. Although it is difficult to find, there is a possibility also. So when you do a business, just think the possibility of attracting the business angels. Other sources, leasing, leasing and government grants. So we talk about the 4 different sources. These personal funds, equity funds, debt fund, and other sources. Leasing, a lease is a written agreement in which owner of a piece of property allow an individual or business to use properly for a specific period of time in exchange for payments. What it says, lease is a written agreement. Yes, obviously there is agreement in which owner of the piece of property allows owner of the property, that means the third party. Now we have signed with the third party. Owner of the piece of the property allow an individual or businesses to use, right? Use the property for a specified period of time in exchange for the okay, බදු ගන්නවා කියන එක නේද? So I just try to understand leasing, just confused with the like having leasing for the vehicles, but it says specific period of time we are going to use the someone's resources, right? Someone's resources. So it is typically introduced as the leasing. The major advantage of leasing is that it enables a company to acquire the use of assets with very little or no down payment. So there are different ways to lease the equipment as required to avoid the unnecessary expenditures during hard time. Otherwise, you can even buy basics and maintain, because as a business, always we need the different elements. We cannot always look for helps from the others. Anyway, leasing option is there if you are not in position to afford finance. Right, those are the things with related to the financing. I think you have done some part with those finance cost. You have idea. This just brief about some theory. Always interest me in the with related to the finance cost. When you have multiple finance sources, always calculate, analyze the cost for the financial sources. In other terms, interest for the financial sources. Then implement it accordingly to avoid the unnecessary situation. Mm, So on the other hand, I may agree that although I just theoretically describe the situation, for having that actual experience, you have to just start a business or even personal life. You may handle such situations in some manner. So eventually, you will get strong understand how to run the business. Right. So that is the end of the first set of slides. We will have around a 10 minutes break and start with the second set of slides regarding the ethics. Do you have any question with this before having a break? Hope no questions. So let's have around 10 minutes break and discuss about the ethics as an entrepreneur, right? Don't put the attendance and leave. If you want to leave, just leave. It's okay. But I will take the attendance maybe a little later when I want, when I feel I need to get that, right? Okay, thank you guys. Just give me a couple of minutes, then maybe 2:45 we will back for second session, right? Guys, ethics can
Self-divided rules with objectives.
Yeah, was that self? Actually, I didn't get any answer clearly. Can someone say what is the self divided? What's that? Self derived, no?
Rules like not strict rules like every company, so self-defined rules with objectives or
So, okay. Any other answer? Are they legally bounded? Ethics and law. What is the difference? If we
Laws are
bring,
legal, ethics are
yes,
not legal.
yeah. Ethics basically best practices. So the way we the way we think this is the best way to do something or right way to do something, those are the ethics. But in the laws are introduced, we enforce the law. That means if someone breach that law, there is a particular punishment. If if there are some ethics, for example, IESL, Institute of Engineering Sri Lanka, as a I'm a member there, so we have code of ethics. Code of ethics. How engineers represent the engineering body to the social, to the public. Engineering body එකේ member කෙනෙක් විදිහට කොහොමද සමාජයට මුහුණ දෙන්නේ? So some ethics. If I breach them, there is no particular punishment, right? But if it is significant, they may inquire, but no, not legally bound. There is no fine, no such things are not there, right? You should have some understand about that ethics. So with the ethics, your values will be improved. Your values will be improved, right? Your values will be improved. So I think there are enough examples. Actually, ethics are highlighted in the business domain. I would say, or a highway project again, highway project. There is a very important tree in between. So due to ethics or importance of that tree, even project change, that slightly change due to the ethical background, right? Ethical background. There are concern of the social activists about the importance of the tree. So ethically, it is not possible to continue the constructions. Even the businesses, if we get the loans, we have to settle, right? Settle. So we should have a good relationship with all the stakeholders, suppliers, sellers, transportation agencies, customers, all the stakeholders of the business. We should have good relationship. Those are not essential, or if you breach them, you will not be charged, but eventually your brand value or your business value will be deteriorated. Business value එක නැති වෙලා යනවා. So ethics are important in that aspect. So let's move forward. Ethical changes facing today's entrepreneurs. So some sort of ethical changes are the expectation among the social entrepreneurs, among the entrepreneurs in the social background, right? Decades of the erosion of the general ethics standards in the society. That means now ethical practices are deteriorating or erosion mean මලකඩ ගන්නවා කියන්නේ erode වෙනවා. That means removing, not practicing, right? So it is a big issue because we should do whatever the business in genuine way, right? No need to find the alternative paths to have the success of the business, because those successes are not sustainable. Those successes are not sustainable. So we should follow the ethics. We should do the business in very much fair manner as per the norms. Growing backlash due to recent scandals. What's that? What do you mean by backslash? Backlash. We'll check in the dictionary. Just give me a second. Yeah, a strong negative reaction by the large number of people due to recent scandals. Scandal also new to me. Yeah, that means there is a backslash, means there is a strong force or negative force from the public regarding the reason scandal, mean whatever the wrong, illegal or morally wrong situation, right? Morally wrong ada මීතර මොලේ කුණු කන්ද කතන්දරය, something like that. It is the scandal. That situation is scandal. So against that there was a very much public voice backslash, right? So that means ethical grounds are deteriorating. Use of the ethical grounds are not practicing. strong way ethically වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ මිනිස්සු. ඒක නිසා public මහ ජනතාව කලබල වෙලා කතා කරනවා malpractices ගැන, right? Wrong moral or legal decisions, right? No existing code of conduct, company culture in a new business. Code of conduct කියලා businesses වල දෙයක් නැහැ. Code of conduct මොන situation එක ආවත් අපි මෙහෙම තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. That is the code of conduct. We are not going to increase our prices we increase our prices quarterly basis or yearly basis. Then due to any reason, we are not going to increase our prices within a month. Monthly basis, we are not doing that. Some sort of ethical practice, right? So what else? Code of conduct. Maybe we pay people who work after hours, OT. So due to COVID, as there is no enough business, we cannot stop that, right? Because they are working. But with better understand with the people, some allowances they have deducted. Fortunately, as a government employee, we get the full salary. But I have heard, I know, even my brother, younger brother, deducted, his salary was deducted significantly. All the allowances. I think your family also has such experiences. But some point it is somewhat fair enough. But there are some unethical situation also penalizing the staff. So the thing is actually businesses also try to manage the COVID situation over more than 1 year, 1.5 years now actually. But they couldn't manage it with properly. Now they are going to do different measurements, ignoring that ethical backgrounds. Eventually there can be any different countermeasures, counter influences, narka deval enda pulan. So be careful when you are making such decision in your businesses, right? So growth of entrepreneurship as primary driving force in our economy. So entrepreneurship, small scale businesses are always enrich because it contributes for our GDP, gross domestic product, comes from the small scale businesses. So then looked into the ethics. What are the ethics? Moral principles that derive from belief about right or wrong. හරිද වැරදිද කියන තීරණේ morally අපි තමන් හිතලම ගන්න එක තමයි ethics කියන්නේ. Moral principle, right? The way you think, that is the moral principle. Derive from belief about right or wrong. මොකක්ද හරි මොකක්ද වැරදි කියන belief එක අනුව තීරණය ගන්න. Ethical perspectives, moral rights, justice. සාධාරණ ਸਰව සාධාරණ විදිහට තමයි වැඩේ කරන්නේ. So there is a literature findings. The owner's value system is critical to the ethical consideration that surround a business decision. So always business decisions are made by the owners. So owners' value systems, individual value systems is critically influence on such decision. So business එකේ owner ethically වැඩ කරන එක අනුව තමයි business decision වලට influence වෙන්නේ ethical ද නැද්ද කියන කතාව. So it is obvious. So it is important for you to be very much ethical. Keep continuing the businesses in ethical way. Can entrepreneurship කියලා කුඩු විකුණන්න අරක්කු විකුණන්න එහෙම යන්න එපා. That is some other mean, right? Those are not the entrepreneurship. Those are not the good businesses, right? So whatever the business that you are doing, there should be positive influence for the society. Right? Positive influence for the society. Otherwise, just go and work for someone and get the salary and survive for the month. It's good. It's better than doing a unethical businesses. So yeah, this is all about ethical and legal aspects. Something which is legally bounded or lawful, it is one aspect. We cannot breach them. Ethical thing, we just think and do very much carefully, because otherwise we will feel guilty not doing something or doing something. මොකද දෙයක් නොකර හරි කරලා හරි guilty එකක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නරක දෙයක් කිරීමෙන් ඇති වෙන guilty එකක් හොඳ දෙයක් වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී නොසිටීම වෙනුවෙන් ඇති guilty එක. මොකද එහෙම. So those are ethics. Right? Ethics helps move beyond narrow focus on technical competence and financial goal. Yeah. Ethics helps you to think more beyond the technical competency. Business just focus about the technical competency more or financial goals more. But actually businesses should think more on the ethics. That is the understand, while assuring the technical competencies and the financial goals. These are fundamentally important, but not sufficient. That means we have to assure the ethics, right? It is important, that not sufficient. So ethical backgrounds are not the priority consideration. That's why it is saying not sufficient. There are some other measures also to consider as a business. So obviously we have to manage our business in profitable manner. So without breaching the ethics, that is important. Help resist to self-centered approaches. Selfish thing. We should not be selfish. At some point, actually, until we are establishing ourselves, we have to think ourselves, because some cases, in my case, I also thought that whether I'm selfish, if that feeling is there at some points, but in long run, somehow, if once we realize such situation that we are selfish or self-centered or thinking only about ourselves, thinking growing only our business, please make sure that not to do so. Do some little commitment for the others also. Do some little commitment for others also while you're growing yourself. While you're growing yourself, do some little commitment for others also. Then eventually that will be helpful for you to satisfy yourself. Right? Helps define the importance of the stakeholders of an entrepreneurial process. Ethics helps define the importance of stakeholders of entrepreneurial process. So stakeholders are utterly important. Who are the stakeholders? Material suppliers, employees, transportation system related stakeholders, then customers, funding institutes. There are multiple individuals who contribute to run the business. All are considered as stakeholders. So make sure you equally treat them. Right? Customers la කියලා හිතලා customers ලට හොඳම price එක දෙන්න supplier penalize කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. Material supplier penalize කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. නැත්නම් material supplier happy කරන්න කියලා හිතාන එයාගේ product එක ගන්න කියලා හිතාන profit එක අරගෙන සප්ලයර්ව සතුටු කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. දෙපැත්තම තියෙන දෙන්නම පීනලයිස් කරලා අපි සතුටු වෙලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද we rely on, as a business we rely on the supply material as well as our customer domain. So input and output. So entire business chain should be smoothly running. For that, our suppliers, our stakeholders should be happy. All the stakeholders should be happy. If there is some interruption in the one point, then entire chain will be interrupted. So make sure that things are running very smooth manner. Right? What is entrepreneurial success? Revenue, market share growth. What do you think? Growth in profits. Number of employees. Cash taken out of business. Thus, the success depends on the above factors only. That means these factors may consider figure-wise, our business is growing. When I have 10 employees today and I'm paying for 10 employees, and after a couple of years, I have 100 employees, our business has grown. But is that the actual growth? That is the question. Right? So under this topic, ethical aspects, we always think about the other factors. That means whether they are happily working. Some people are working because they don't have any other option. Right? That thing should not be happen. If they work for the organization, they should happy as employees. Cash taken out from the business, so we should do that part very carefully. More and more money bringing out from the business is very much bringing out from business is never recommended. Bringing out money from the business is never recommended. Right? Because you also better get the payment as a salary. Don't get back money as you wish. Even don't put money as you wish. සල්ලි තියනවා කියලා ඔකට දාන්නත් එපා. For the business. Business is a separate body. You should have a separate account for that. So business is running based on the money that available in the that particular account. Account එකකින් යනවා, account එකට එනවා, ඒකෙන් account එකෙන් run වෙන business එක. No multiple accounts for that business. Right? So you should be very much careful that you are not handling the cash flow in different manner, because finally you will be clueless what was happened with the business. Right? So anyway, the focus here is the ethical background. So success of the business is always not rely on the above factors. Ethical consideration is also important, right? While assuring the revenue, market share, growth in profit, number of employees, cash taken out from the business. Maybe careful way, maybe as a salaries, maybe annual bonus. There should be a process for that. There should be a process for that. Then at the annual basis, as an owner, you can get more money. So okay, but there is a process. Monthly basis, you are not taking money out. Right? It is not fair. It is not fair, because whatever the profits, things should be even shared with the employees also. Then they will be motivated to work towards the company. Those are the ethical backgrounds. So success is not always the measure of above factors. Just keep it in mind. Yeah. Becoming a good entrepreneur. Here there is a quote: teaching of fundamental ethics is undoubtedly a function of the state. I think I just try to explain. I'm just when I teaching fundamental ethics, I'm just describing the my state. I'm working based on some ethics. I'm just describing a particular state for you, but it is always actually unique, right? The way I think, way I believe, then ethics also a little bit deviate from one another. So if you are going to describe about the ethics, you may look into the different state because your functionalities are different. So that understand is there with the code. Let's look into the content. Actions and decision shape the character. Whatever the actions and decision shape the character, entrepreneur character, person, right? Whatever decision that business decision that they're making depend on the entrepreneur, right? Depend on the business decision making by the entrepreneur, rely on how that thing accepted by the customers. For example, shell gas. As far as we don't have option, we still buying that, but they did very much cheap thing by by renaming the label from kilo to liter. They reduce the content, hiding the specific information. So those are not ethical. Those are very much unethical. But we don't have option. Just go for laugh gas. That is the option you can do, right? Uh, character is defined by a consistent pattern of actions. So because of one or two action, we are not going to judge the entrepreneur. Consistent set of actions are considered to judge about the ethics of the entrepreneur. So as far as ethics are okay, then people are willing to work. Boss hinda man මෙතන ඉන්නේ කියලා කියන්නේ that boss is good. Boss is treating the employees in very much better manner, right? So entrepreneur has that qualities. These patterns become the habits. Once you practice something, that thing becomes the habit. So you are usually doing those things. So eventually you will be a good entrepreneur, right? Virtue is defined in terms of these habits. So habits introduce that particular character, right? Character formation occurs through opportunities he or she perceives. So you cannot build a character if you don't have opportunity, right? As an entrepreneur, you want to develop yourself, you should have opportunity for that. Who he or she chooses to do the business with whom you are going to start the business. So definitely you will be influenced by the other party. So you should be very much careful for finding out the right partner. Otherwise, entire business will be collapse, right? So I have some bad experience. I think I already shared. So my advice with that experience is don't invest money for the businesses that you don't know. Even though you rely on that person, he is competent, he is ethically also fine. But when financial situations are negatively influenced, those persons are not continue the work as they supposed to be. කියලා හිතන විදිහට වැඩේ කරන් යන්නේ. So I had very bad experience. Somehow I managed to get back to the present stage, but otherwise I could lost many things, right? Huge investment I made, but I didn't know about the business about tower constructions. I had no any idea, but I rely on that entrepreneur, the business person who is my batchmate, engineer. So eventually I lost. So partnership is utterly important. Don't do the partnerships blindly, right? Who or she hires your employees, introduce your business into the next phase. Be carefully. Product and market decisions, whatever the product related market decision. For example, these days there is a huge campaign for organic fertilizers, and eventually the chemicals are not encouraged. So that thing is influenced to the chemical market. Due to the rice prices, government import rices. Eventually that rice prices has been influenced, right? Always the business decision you should align with the government policy decision. But this government, Sri Lankan government, is not such. In theory, it says government policy decisions are important to consider for business decision. But our government actually not reliable one to make such decision or investing much money based on the government policies. Because this government may there for 2 years, even the same political party brings another leader, policy will be changed. We don't know what will be happening in the future. So whatever the investment that we can make, we should be able to recover within the next 3 years, I guess. Less than 3 years, no? Within that this president's time. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen next. So there are different initiatives, different market. Then yesterday, I met with the ASA marketing person who came for repairing my exercise machine. He said that they are very busy with now these days because people are in the home and doing the exercise at home, not going to outside and things like that. Don't work. So market has been changed. There is a huge demand for them because people are exercising at home, right? So different situations are influenced. Face mask market. What do you think? In the first round of COVID, people didn't care too much, but second round they start preparing or manufacturing the face mask. Those who started beforehand, they are actually, I think, earn enough. So always when you do a business, you should address the different trends in the market at the same time to build your ethical grounds. Build your ethical grounds. You should pick the right choices, right? You should hire the right person. That is the third point. You should find the right partner for the business, right? Right mindset should be there with the partner, right? This is all about the building your personality or ethical backgrounds. Decision about the whether and how fast to grow. Yeah, business growth. We should strategically plan. What are the branches at the moment? How we are going to extend? How many employees we are going to recruit? What are the business segment we are going to address? All these decisions are based on the feasibility study with some under the some logical or ethical backgrounds. We should make thus decisions. The corporate culture he or she builds, so that also influence individuals to represent in the society in the different way. Those who are from Colombo, maybe better schools, they have better personality, they can do anything in English. They are fluent in the English very much, so they perform in the job industry very well rather than someone coming from the other part of the country, right? So that is about the culture, corporate culture. Once they get into the business corporate culture, that thing is uniquely identifiable. Engagement with the community as a leader or citizen. So those are the actually character formation occurs through, that means the individuals are built through these things. So we talk about the good entrepreneur, becoming a good entrepreneur, then we talk about the character formation occurs through to be a good entrepreneur. So most of the stuff are focused in the individual improvement in the ethical background. So as image described, unethical practices, which is not acceptable, briberies. Corruptions, bribery, offer for lunch, drink, groceries, hampers, right? That is usual, no? We are also giving a lunch as a practice if someone help us, but it is under this category. However, we want to build or maintain that personal relationship and want to pay our gratitude, but it is also considered at some point as an unethical practice. Drink should be a party type, alcohol type drinking water. Groceries, hampers, groceries now actually refined into the gift vouchers. Grocery around the name cargets gift vouchers around the. So it is not good even, but we are still practicing to maintain the relationship with the others. Hampers, that mean gifts. Stock holdings, I think it is referring to the share market stock. Smuggling, like specific smuggling. But the smuggling Sinhala word, I cannot remember, but it's like also casino kind of thing. Suduwa කියන එක නේද? Suduwa. Right? Just look into that. Pollution, right? Maybe whatever the pollution in any manner. So those are the unethical practices. Let's move forward with the examples of the stakeholder analysis. So stakeholder mean when you are working as an entrepreneur, who will be with you in that journey? කවුද ඔයාලත් එක්ක ඒ journey එකේදී ඉන්නේ? Who is first with you? Our family. Right? Our family. So entrepreneur has a family, wife, kids. So create the balance between the work demands and the family time. Work life and family life balance. Establish a more moderate financial growth goal to allow for time with family. So don't go for extreme financial growth. Go for moderate financial growth. Moderate growth කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය විදිහකට. Extreme කියන්නේ financial terms may improvement කරගන්න බලන්න. So moderate financial growth and allowing time for be with family. Investors, deal with the investors openly and honestly. We should say that what is the statement or status of the business to the investors, not to for transparent understanding or mutual understanding, but don't mislead them. right? So application, develop a financial reporting system. That's how we are going to educate investors. That provides full and accurate historical information as well as realistic forecast. History about the financial information as well as realistic forecast. Both are there with related to the investors to make happy the investors, right? Then employees. Employees are also important because they work for the business. So share financial success with those that help to create it. That means offering bonus for the businesses, offering bonus for the business. It is important. Just give me a second, right? Right. Employees share the financial success with those help to create it. Right. Employees work for the business. As a result, financial growth is there. So eventually, that bonuses are offered. Not like government bonus, right? CEB එකේ වැඩ කරපෙකට නැතිකට ඔක්කොටම bonus දෙනවා. ඒක මේ බෙදාගෙන කෑමක්. It is not the way to do the. I don't know. I'm not accepting because even CEB is having losing their business model. They even offer the bonus, which is not acceptable. But in the private organization, at the end of the financial year, they just calculate whatever the cash flows and finalize, and their growth has been identified. Maybe 10% of that, 20% of that, or 30% of that. It is also a business decision. Is shared among the employees as a share among the employees as a encouragement for them to work, right? Then customers, suppliers, bankers, community, those are also some may have relationship with the businesses. So we have to deal with them very carefully, or as entrepreneur, right? They are representing the stakeholders. Customers are the main stakeholder. We provide the better price for them because the present market is competitive. If you are going to offer higher price, it will not be happen eventually. But ethical grounds, we should not even ask for the better prices. If we can offer the particular product or service, we should offer for that price. But we should encounter all the cost with related to the manufacturing that product, right? There are some hidden cost as well. Even you are finding a even when you are using your own house for the business, then you put a rent for the house. ඒ කියන්නේ ගෙදර කාමරයක නම් business එක කියන්නේ ඒ garage කෑල්ලේ නම් maybe 5,000 per month you should take out from the business as a rent for the garage, because it is also depreciating, right? Garage එක අද තියනවට වැඩිය හෙට වෙන හෙට paint එකක් ගන්න ඕනේ, right? If you have to do that outside, you have to rent a place. For that you have to pay maybe 10,000-15,000. But having 5,000 for that your own premise, it's perfectly fine. Do that in the transparent way, structured way, with some correct argument, rather than taking 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 different money at different time, right? That means I wanted to say all the cost with related to the manufacturing should be incorporated with the pricing. Trend for the place, hiring, everything should be accumulated for the final price of the product. Suppliers, prompt payment for the money owed. Suppliers payment is crucially important, right? So especially with the government relationship, they are not paid on time. Government, they are making payment with delay. Quotations are issued early January, still all those are under evaluation. Now they may not be able to even produce the or supply that particular product because the product is very much expensive, right? But just after that also those payments are delayed, telling there is some process to go through to approve the payment. Quality assurance part is important. Those are the actual scenario, right? When we purchase laptop for the university, as a member of the TEC Technical Evaluation Committee, we experienced that. Right? Unnecessary delays are there. Those are not acceptable. Establish cash forecasts that are based on an assumption of the prompt payment of all invoices submitted by the supplier or vendor. Yeah. The cash flow, entrepreneurs should manage the cash flow accordingly, not be analyzing their stakeholders. Bankers, honest disclosure of information. Actually, don't be truly honest for the product. Tricky because it is a bank, right? It is a bank. They are the well-established bank. They have rules. Somehow we have to accommodate all those rules. Otherwise, we will not be able to get the bank loan. So do something to get the bank loan. It will not be actually ethically ethical. It might not be ethical, but it is with relation with the bank. Banks are not penalized in any manner. If we are so sure that we can pay the bank loan, it is up to us to show our capacity. So for that, you can show the capacity in the different ways. However, settling the bank loan timely manner, paying the credit card timely manner is utterly important. Otherwise, you will be stressful, right? You will be stressful if you cannot pay the loans couple of months. So good relationship with the bank will help you to build as an entrepreneur in the long run. Community, reliable employment for the community, manage cash flow to allow for stable employment even during the times of temporary slowdowns, right? That means even COVID situation, if businesses are not performing well, cash flows are okay to make the payment. So those are the concern about the stakeholders. So who is the good entrepreneur? Good entrepreneur is the technically competent, what's those words? Not familiar. Let's look into the detail. Stewardship, right? Stewardship means the job of supervising or taking care of something, such as organizing or property. That means entrepreneur is just taking care of the business, right? Taking care of the business and supervising the business accordingly. Virtue of prudent කියන්නේ acting with or showing care or thought for the future. That means the future forecasting. That means you are running the business with the great vision, something like that, right? Coordinating the business with the great vision. Good, the good for community, justice toward the stakeholders. Entrepreneur is doing good for the community, justice for the stakeholders, not doing or doing favor for the all the stakeholders, sadharana karna stakeholders. So the good of the person, the courage to do the right thing, but understanding the importance of the temperance in what we do and perceive. Courage to do the right thing. Always good persons want to do the right thing, understand the importance of the temperance in what we do and perceive. Temperance means the being angry, no? Yeah, that word is not there in the related meaning is not there. Anyway, we'll check with that. You can just check with that, but it is just describing the good entrepreneur. So anyway, that good entrepreneur just always doing something which he or she feels right. So understand the importance of temperance in what we do or pursue. Yeah, with that understand temperance. Let's check with the synonym. Restraints. Sorry guys, that one I don't know. Not sure about that. That means focus on to. It feel like focus on whether what we do and perceive මොනවද අපි කරන්නේ අපි ලබාගන්නේ මොනවද කියලා හරියට focus එකකින් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන අදහසින්. But when we are doing the business, we should have that understand about what is going on, right? What is happening with the business. That understand is should be there with the good entrepreneur. Sorry about that word. Just check with that under meaning behind that word. You can understand that part. Nothing much behind that. Anyway, describing the good entrepreneurs in different manner. Tools for managing ethical decisions. No? Decisions. So I cannot see that degrees. So dilemmas, ethical dilemmas. Tools for managing ethical dilemmas. Dilemmas mean the crucial situation. Dilemmas. There is a situation where we ethically we cannot handle some situations. Then power is important. You should have some authority to address that dilemma or crucial situation. Compensation incentives. So if you feel that that person is penalized due to some reason, we just offer the compensation. Culture might be influenced. Culture, due to the culture, sometime if you have the within the organization, if you maintain the family sort of culture, then ethical dilemmas can be addressed easily. But hierarchical manner, the ethical dilemmas, it is difficult to address due to that hierarchical culture in the organization. Consensus building. That means understanding about the individuals or others, understanding in between each others. It is also important to address the ethical dilemmas. Incorporating ethical criteria into growth management decisions. Incorporating ethical criteria into growth management decisions. That means if you are making decision for business growth, we should follow the ethical criteria. Choosing customers, choosing funding sources. We should not choose the customers due to the profits. Due to the profits, this segment of the customers are doing good. This is simply not the short-term business. It is a strategic business moving forward for long term. So we should attract the customers who are very much genuine. Choosing funding sources, it is also important. We should not follow that polymetallic sort of thing. Ethically, we should fund the stuff. Otherwise, it is difficult to manage with the business. So I think you got some understand about the ethical aspects of the entrepreneurial features. So different stakeholders requirement you should address. You got the idea about the unethical practices, right? So got the idea about difference between the laws and ethics. So with that one, actually, we can finish for today. If you don't have any question, please raise if you have any question. Meantime, actually, you better put that in before. Wait, don't put that in. I will put message first. If you are not leaving and if you stay online, it means you are not actively attending the sessions. You just stay there. Make sure that you actively attend the sessions. Then only I also motivate to take. If you raise some question, I also think. Allow me to think by raising the important questions. Do you have any question, by the way, before finishing? Okay, thank you then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.